ʼeeya.áx yagi. Gwallia shukwa yachana a'aduwóosʼ ach ʼidishi. Yet Tlein aya konek hachshechit dweyis at hajis at awe. Hachshechit jetzt at nach tlingit nach. Shinach leit kach nach zu hachshechit. Ach kaduha ko hajoyach tuwasagu a'idishi Hechasaku wasa atune. Gwal ya kashuk tlaqei gwal ausaku atina chayeti kachyejiene. Joey ʼaduwóosʼ tuwasagu tlingit china chaya kinach yitu aka hajiyis chakinig. To translate, it's great to see everyone. We'll start with this. I was working on this the other day, and I wrote Tlingit on one side and English on the other, and the English all just disappeared. So maybe my computer knew that you folks wanted to help me with this. So for starters, we'll just go one by one, read it out loud in Tlingit, and translate it. And I will type what the translation is, since you are so helpful. This is our warm-up for tonight. Who wants to do the first one? Let's try and take turn. Everybody take a shot. Go.
Masa'iati.
There you are.
How are you?
Keep it going.
I'm okay.
Not bad.
I'm good.
I'm tired.
It's just me.
Wasat yati itla. How is your mom?
Ish, father.
Jeez.
Sheesh, grandparent.
Just pick one.
ʼAadé. My kids are good.
Wasa wachi kinship. Oh, how my kin is okay.
Hey, go. Or come in.
Lingi, you all come in.
Agu, come here.
Yeah. All you get over here. I said.
One of these that says Neshku, one of these days is gonna say Chuck right after it.
Jeez.
Okay, hot Yagudi. It's good you've come.
ʼaduwóosʼ. It's good you've all come.
Canoe,
Gonna,
sit down.
gonna, sit down. That's right. My dog speaks Tlingit. When, when I want him to come here and sit by my side, I say gonna. When I want him to get in or out of the car, I say juk. And if I say other words like tuk day or gonna eat that, he won't do it. So my dog speaks Tlingit fluently.
ʼaduwóosʼ, okay?
ʻaika, you all sit down.
Gusu kayakache. Where's the chair?
Yadu kaya kajate. The chair's here.
Wedu kaya gajate. There's the chair.
Goodness, cheese. Oh, thank you.
Now, so yeah, what is this right here?
Cook aya. Something is here. This is a book.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Ah, so wait. What's that?
Lingi workbook. Awa. Kuhida akya. Is this a pen?
ʻeeya.áx. Is that a pen?
Anna get Jiwu. Do you have money? You got my money.
Ani ike jiu. Ki kakwat.
Ah, yes.
Hey,
Okay, good.
It's not bad.
Oh, it is bad.
Shikudzi. Amazing.
I got to tease my friend. I was at ʼaduwóosʼ, and he was going on about people just say ʼtlakudzi too much. Everything's tlakudzi this, tlakudzi that. You just say it too much. Not even like 2 minutes later, they did something at the ʼaduwóosʼ, and he goes, tlakudzi. I fell out of my chair. Let's see, maybe we'll jump ahead. Let's jump ahead. Yeah, it's this one.
ʼaduwóosʼ aga. Can you hear me?
ʼeeya.áx. Yes, I can hear you.
ʼaduwóosʼ. I don't hear you.
Tlingit ʼaduwóosʼ. Do you understand Tlingit or do you hear Tlingit?
Tlingit. Ach. Sorry. Ach. Ach. Do you speak Tlingit?
This one is a little different. It's got
Oh.
the in there, so.
I understand Tlingit.
Yeah, okay.
ʻaduwóosʼ.
ʼaduwóosʼ, a little.
I always remember ʼaduwóosʼ, little bit, ʻaduwóosʼ, little. Little bit, little.
Tlingit shtuchaltu. I'm teaching myself Tlingit. I'm learning Tlingit.
Jeez.
ʼahdaya kushiske. I understand.
Ishtudaya kushuske. He doesn't understand. He or she, they.
Oh, I forgot to fix it. I was gonna change that one. Jeez.
Say it again.
Write it.
Hey, shachit, you all write it.
Maybe we'll do one more.
I too read.
What did you do? Night two? Or night
I sure did.
Chawasai, Tawasaku. I guess do them both now.
Night two, you all read it.
This changes it.
Need that too. Does that count it?
Ah, okay, yeah. So this could also be count it. This could also be
That's you singular. Same verb though. Yeah, you read it or count it.
Close. Something falls out. Let me show you.
It's just read.
Yeah.
Oh,
So this would be the big poster in the library. Netta two.
Now the two, all of you read.
It says kicking out the object. Sometimes that's what the declassifier does. Khataqa. I'm sewing it, like some socks or moccasins.
ʼaduwóosʼ, is that? Read it to me.
Yeah. Kinachnatu.
Should be yelling it though, right? ʼaduwóosʼ.
That's right. We should do all of these exclamations as like just real rough voices.
Erase them, we'll start over.
Thanks, Uncle Herb.
Yeah, take it to the top with a little bit of this anti-uncle energy.
Kinach
in
natu.
math.
Read it
I
out
was
loud.
just gonna add in mathematics, the exclamation point, it means a unique whatever. Like you can say there exists a unique inverse of D or whatever. But they use the exclamation point for a unique.
A unique?
Yeah, it's like there exists a unique blah or whatever is what in mathematical notation, that's what they use. Anyway, that's a sidetrack.
Okay.
Noea, you will teach the class in Tlingit mathematics and then everybody will pass.
Yeah, if I can finish that degree.
There's so many people that are all done except they can't get through the math requirement.
Yeah, well.
Natu. Read it out loud. Read it loud. Read it out loud.
Yeah, well. Read it out loud. So looking at how the it is popping in and out, you know, and so the object is getting removed, which we can't tell here. We would be able to tell. So you'd say a two, they are reading. They're reading it. But if you just say the two, they are reading. Another thing, there's an S classifier version of this verb. So if I were to say nastu, when would I say that and what would it mean? This was one that took me a while to figure out.
Yanika.
There's an S classifier version of this. So like I would say, when would you use that? So like you'd say, for example, you could say ʻaduwóosʼ, they read it. But you could also say ʻaduwóosʼ. Does anybody know what that S classifier would do?
They caused it to be read.
It's a really good guess.
Or they like read it all or something.
That's
because I know the
yeah.
it's like the hua pussy ha is like I ate it versus I ate it up. I don't know. So
They will read it.
Let's go to the verb dictionary, which I gotta find. I guess so. Here it is. Oh, I'm actually pretty close to where I need to be. I was looking for ripples earlier.
And those last two on there, those would also be count it as well as along with read it, right? Like count it to me and count it out loud.
Yeah, to count them to me and count them out loud. Yeah, so we're gonna go down to count, and we see kleqat is two. And you could say, I would probably say ʼeeya.áx. But so there's a couple things like the na drops out of there. That's interesting. Un saya is 2. So this is actually it's a D plus S classifier. I had it wrong. So in that case, you would say ʼeeya.áx. I would expect it to be ʼaduwóosʼ. Let me move this thing over here. And we'll go look it up, and we're going to see if it's transitive or not. Intransitive. So there should not be a subject or an object there. So only a subject. So that means there shouldn't be. So you would expect ʼeeya.áx would 2. They counted to 20. So it switches to, so this one is both read and count. But this one is to count to a certain number. So that's why it's switching to a classifier. It's counting to a certain number.
Which classifier is that one? And Z2?
It's a D plus S classifier. So because any plus D classifier will always require a pronoun for the command form. And sometimes there'll be just a mysterious vowel that pops up because you cannot have just the letter S or L or SH as the entire prefix. If the prefix is going to have a consonant, I think it needs to have a vowel. So that's why one example would be, I gotta look it up.
Before you look it up, can you please repeat it? Why does it go plus D in this one?
I don't know.
I mean, sorry, what the I meant the thing you said. Can you repeat the thing you said about the pronoun?
I don't know that either. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. Any command form of a verb that has a plus, so a command form for a second person singular usually doesn't have any pronoun associated. It just disappears. So you say nata, qanu. There's no pronoun that you hear. You hear it for the second person, naiheu, right? But if the classifier is plus D, then it will be there. So that's why you say giddahan instead of gaddahan, because that D, it says, because sometimes in a command form you will just have, like for example, we go back to count and we see wherever it is. Oh, I found my other one too. I know where it's at. Okay. So here is count, and so in this case you have is 2. So one is you could tell it's a 0 conjugation type, and in the command form the classifier is only S. And same with if I was going to say I am going to count to 20. ʼeeya.áx, I would probably say ʼeeya.áde, but I don't know, it might be T. ʼeeya.áx cook plus 2. I'm gonna count to 20. Right? So here's another example just up above of how there's a similar thing called a peg vowel. So here is zich'ak for a sockeye or coho or chum to be discolored when they go up the river. They change their color when they go up the river. So here we see the perfective, qat, wutzich'ak. So a couple of things, that should be short, wutzich'ak. But because the stem is short, that tells you that this is another 0 conjugation. Like just little things that you just note. Perfective, if it goes short in the perfective, it's a 0. But then here we say sh'uk is. So we get this mysterious letter I that pops up there. That's because you cannot only have a consonant in the prefix. That cannot be the verb. So that I just pops up. It's just holding a spot. That's all it's doing. But for all commands, just remember, if there's a plus D classifier, you have to have the I in the command. So that's why the command for take a break or rest yourself is shista. So the I, that E pops up in there. Okay.
So if it's plus D, there's an I in the command.
Yes, otherwise there's nothing for the singular second person, because all commands are to second person, right? It's always you or y'all. It's only when you can, then it switches to a orderly for like us. And then, but so there's usually nothing there. If you look up a whole bunch of commands, you'll see there's, like you just say, ha, like that's a command for eat it. And atcha, that's a command for eat something. And so there's not something there. But if you're to command someone, let's see, I bet you we can take a look at so let me see, hopefully these two are listed right next to each other. So we'll take a look at one where you kick the object out and that pushes it to go plus D. So we'll look up sewing. So for sewing, you have sew it, object, subject, zero classifier, ka, zero, act, and we open it up, we see ka. Like that's the command form for sewing, right? And this is dictated by a couple different things. One is it's a zero classifier and a zero conjugation type. So that means you don't need anything. You just go straight to the root, right? Straight to the root. And because it's a zero commands are usually going to be short and high. The others will all be long and low. So then if ka is the command for sew it, like sew the moccasin, sew the vest, sew the thing. There's something there. If we take that thing out, then we get itaka. So one is that the zero form of that classifier is da, and then it has to have the I. It pops up in there. But that stays the same. Okay.
That sounds like a ʼaduwóosʼ. Is that a similar type?
Yes, yeah, and so because there's da in there, it has to have I. So if we looked at that verb, she, and there's other, so here's help, touch, hope. So ʼadudli.átgi, you see it right there. Hope for it, right? If you're commanding someone. But for pick it up, you get ʼatshi. So it goes away because that D, if that D is not there, then you don't have any pronoun for the second person. And that's how you put a command together. The command comes down to a couple different things. So the conjugation prefix has to be there. In this case, it's zero, so it's nothing. As long as the classifier is minus D, there's not going to be a pronoun for the second person singular. The classifier must be in its minus I form, so its natural state. And then if it's zero, you should have a short high. If it's everything else, you should have a long low. That might be different for opens. I don't know. I got to do a little bit more. I'll put a lesson for those.
When you say it's plus D and it has a pronoun, you're talking about the subject. It's either just there or not.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's pretty unusual because for that command, it's almost like the subject just kind of disappears. But I guess you just say you don't need it for the second person. So it's a bit of an unusual thing, but it's a pattern that we could remember. We just don't put it there unless there's a D in the classifier.
Kuni, that's why people say linkwachilkin.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, because shetin is to watch something, but you put sh in front of it and you're watching yourself, watching the self, and so that pushes it to go plus D. So like other things like that. So if you said, I guess if you were to command someone to do it, I don't know why you do it, but so qastin would be the command form for see it. Like I don't know why you would say that. Like you would usually say look at it, not see it. So it would be a little weird. But if you were to tell someone to look at them, to see themselves, like in the mirror, like I guess you're trying to convince them that they're not a vampire. I don't know. I'm stretching here. But then you would have.
I wonder if that'd be like, do you see it almost like?
Well,
Kasting.
you'd say yisatinge. Right. I guess if you're frustrated, maybe like it's one of those things that came out where you had to make your eyes go out of focus. And you see this three-dimensional thing, and some people couldn't see it. You're mad because it was so cool, and you're trying to tell them to see it, or you're trying to tell them like catch sight. Yeah, really, this is to catch sight of something too. So like if there's you're hunting and they can't see the thing, and you want them to see it. Qastin. Or maybe you're the paranoid person who puts the glasses on and can see who's the aliens, and you're trying to convince someone to see the aliens. But if this was to see yourself, like look, see yourself, that would be. It should be shkaisteen. I mean, no, it should be shkaisteen. That's what it would be. Okay.
So Kuni, there on the classifier, the A has dropped off, right?
Yeah. So here, let's see. Let me find where I was putting together this other. We're going to do verb prefixes at some point. So I was putting together something for it. I got to find it. Oops. So we're going to go through this thing pretty soon. I don't think it's quite ready yet. Where did I put that one? Maybe I didn't finish it yet. Okay, I don't think I put it together. Oh, here it is. So down here at the bottom, so there's a set of prefixes where if you have a classifier with the letter A in it, right? So that could be da, well, not da, but it could be, well, I guess, yeah, da, shla, sa, sha. So those ones can all have the letter A in it. That letter A can get knocked out of there if the thing right before the classifier is a, na, qa, y, daqa, d, or qa. But qa has to be in its full form, right? And what that means is that there can't be something in front of it or it's going to contract that. But in this case, you have qa. So what that means is, let me go back to my verb thing.
So if there were a workbook, someone could just use that on the bottom and put those together, right? Because some of them you were saying there's only like 10 or 15 words that change, or maybe more.
Yeah, so this is qasatin. So satin is what, like you look down here and you see qaisatin. So this letter A gets knocked out of the classifier right here. And what causes it is qa. If qa pops up right before sa, sha, or sha, it'll knock the a right out of there. So there's this vowel cancellation thing that happens. Like, for example, ʼaduwóosʼ, they know it. ʼaduwóosʼ, right? So that's not the classifier going plus d. It's a, w, sa, k. But w plus sa, it's going to knock that letter a right out of there. And that's a tricky thing. I was at somebody's house and they were trying to ball out a bunch of new learners, and they're like doing something I think was really inappropriate, because someone had literally just passed away and then is in the next room. And then this person is like kind of performing about like how the learners of today don't know anything. And I thought it was really bad timing. And it was sort of this thing where like one person's talking to another, but I think they're doing it because they want me to hear it or something. It was a very strange situation. But then they're just sort of really going off and saying, "Kashas awsaku yagi dut," and I just in my mind I was thinking, "Kashas awasku," but I wasn't going to say anything because I'm not going to engage in that bad behavior. I was there to pay my respects to the person who just passed away. But just remember, ʼaduwóosʼ. But this is that vowel cancellation that happens, and this is advanced Tlingit is so interesting because it's like, okay, there's this thing, but then there's also this thing, but then there's also that thing, but then there's also this other thing, but then there's also this thing, right? It's like this, the book of rules and the book of exceptions. We didn't get to the next minute of Kahwanish. We'll do that.
Hey, can I ask you a way off topic question?
Yeah.
Why do I always hear Tlingit ʼeeya.áx instead of do you speak Tlingit?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question, because if you look at how the ʼeeya.áx verb works, so the verb root ach, it has for me a couple of meanings, which is to hear. So it has to do with hearing or making a sound. Because you get a whole bunch of verbs from ach. You can get hearing, awa ach. So usually I go to the zero classifier with no prefixes. That means that's your default for me. So the default for ach is awa ach, which is to hear something. You could switch it to an S classifier and now you're listening. You could switch it to an L classifier and now you're playing an instrument. It could switch to a D plus S classifier and now it's echoing or sometimes making noise. K nasach, it's noisy. So then you could put q in front of it, and it means to take the time to listen. You can, if you put in front of it, now you get into understanding. And so for me, when you say like, and that CH sometimes, that's usually a habitual thing. And so when we say, okay, well, there's a habitual thing on there, and some of them it just built in there, and it creates sort of a slightly different meaning. Like you could say, dasa ʼaduwóosʼ. And dasa ʼaduwóosʼ would be, what is that sound? So ʼaduwóosʼ would mean it's making a sound. Or they'd say, ga'yach ʼaduwóosʼ. The growl sounds like a drum. So when you have the CH on there, it means like it's in this, it just continues to happen. It's in a habitual pattern type of thing. So when I like to explain this difference, it's like a language has its own thought pattern. So you say, do you speak English? And so the act is focused on speaking. And for me, like Tlingit ʼeeya.áx is like, can you repeatedly hear the mouth of a human being? That seems to me like what it's literally sort of asking. And so that's the focus is on understanding. But that ʼeeya.áx verb is like to understand what somebody's saying, to comprehend it. And ʼahdaya kushishke means like it's a little bit different because that means I understand a concept or I understand like a thing. It makes sense to me.
So the speaking is less important than the understanding is kind of in the Tlingit way of thinking.
Yeah, I would say, and like
Mm.
as a learner and a speaker and a teacher, like there's not very many moments anymore, but there used to be moments where I'd find out people spoke Tlingit and I didn't know that they did. And so it's less common now, except for it's nice because there's younger folks who are I see who could speak Tlingit, and that's really fun. But then I get excited when I get to ask people that because I'm like, oh, it's a new person to talk to. Like there was that tall Tlingit guy that worked at I'm sorry I don't know his name. He's from Cake, and he worked at Costco. And Zeosh was here, and he says, "Hey, that guy, that Tlingit guy at Costco who looks at your receipts, he speaks Tlingit." Nora told me. I was like, "What?" He's always looking at my receipts. So then I was like so excited. And the next time I went to Costco, he was looking at my receipt, and he's big, he was tall, he was kind of older guy. And I was like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna say it to him. So I said, I didn't look at him either. I just said, ʼaduwóosʼ. And he stopped and he looked at me. He goes, and then he went back to the thing. It was like the coolest thing. And then I just took my receipt. I was like, goodness, cheese. It was just the coolest like little interaction. And so it is really fun to sort of to get to that point where you find out somebody speaks Tlingit. So. Okay. Okay, you guys had some sentences you were supposed to do. And then we're gonna do kahuan ish. I'll have to save that for Monday. Anything else before we go? This was fun. I'm glad we did a little check-in too.
I have a question.
Oh.
Tlin Quat, Tleidka Kainachsa.
Carefully?
How come it's not in the dictionary?
Which one?
Tlin Quat.
Which dictionary?
Which dictionary? The book, the Carrie Edwards.
Oh, yeah, I don't know. I don't know why it's not in there. So it's in the new dictionary. You could. I'm gonna try and order a whole bunch of these new dictionaries, so that we can just give them to the people. But I'll see if I can convince folks to do that. Tustin just ordered a whole bunch, but I gotta get them shipped to Skagway because they're trying to charge $1,500 extra to ship it to Canada. It's like it's all Shingitani, don't you guys know? Somebody called Jeff Bezos, set him straight. Get out of your rockets and start printing my books.
And then, how do you say, oh boy, it is what it is. Kudjati dasa kudjati?
It is what it is. I would say, oh, how did someone do that? That you were putting dasa with sati. Datsa sati away. Oh, it is what it is. I would probably want to use the sati verb. Datsa sati away da. But then if you say ʼaduwóosʼ, you're saying it's really something special. Anybody got any?
Did you say?
I might say like. I don't know. This isn't exactly what that means, but it's like I might say ʼeeya.áx, which is like how some folks respond to the word ʼg'núchish.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't. It's not exactly. It is what it is, but it sort of has that vibe. I don't know.
Oh yeah, ʼeeya.áx. ʼeeya.áx is like that's how it is, but you could say something like ʼadasa ʼaduwóosʼ ʼeeya ʼaduwóosʼ. Whatever it is, it really is that thing, kind of. Huh?
ʼadudli.átgi.
ʼaduwóosʼ. Well, I'll send it to Shkuyel and we'll see what Anasha Hash comes up with. That'll be a good puzzle.
And then one more.
Ah,
How do you say because that's why?
Achawe.
Like somebody says why, and you say because that's why.
Oh, because that's why? Oh.
Yeah,
Achawayayati, I'd probably say. But that might sound like it's tying it to something else that you already said. I'd probably say yayati, achawayayati, which sounds repetitive, but that's it is that way, and because of that, it is that way.
That's it is what it is.
Yeah, that might be it.
It is what it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yayati is to be, and then the city is to be a certain thing, right? But it slides in. It could slide into something else because I could say, "Yatachanachatchi city shtakat yuhan, achawe yachanachtu yakei in chatzati, ye awa hain natich, yakadnachawe yakei wujin hanastiji, tatlingitayach tuwasaku yatuwatlaki wujin, achawe chwasaku yawujin chaye yakachtitlak." You guys are really something. That's why I like to be with you. That's the short version. Okay. Almost sound like a complex Paul McCartney lyrics or something.
Oh no, this is just how we talked when we were kids. I got one more if you got time. Let's see. Because that's why achwayati. Then the next question is because why? And the answer is because. So it'd be achwe wanasa, achwe.
Sounds like he has teenagers.
No, we talked that way when we were kids, and I always just assumed it was because everybody, our parents were fluent Tlingit speakers, and I always thought that those smart ass questions and answers came from like grandma. She didn't want to debate, so we'd say, why do you have to do that? Because why? Because that's why.
Yeah, what you say, ye awa achawe ye natich. It's that way, and that's why it's always that way. And then that's your closing argument from the grandparent.
Yeah, it's like there was no debate ever. And then you get mixed marriage. Oh boy, big debates. Big gap, and it all boils down to why are you asking? Because that's why. And no, I want to know. It's like you could do like that comedy routine. Who's on first?
Oh yeah, yeah. We could do one like these two kids. It's just for jokes. But you could do one with these two kids. Like one who thinks is, yeah, what? Chukde yuchat do a sock. Yeah, ach ish chedach aya chakawecho ach chukde chukde aya ach sai echoji. Like these Tlingit speaking kids who think their name is like Chukde and Shilkat. So Could be funny. Oh, okay. I gotta stash my lamp so no one takes it. I ain't doing no lights in this room anymore. Drag this out of my office. So one. We dutóow ʻági da ʼeeya.áx. Ganchish.
Well, could I ask a question?
Ah.
Oh, geez. Okay. So I have a group of students I'm sharing language with, and I have a habit of, do you guys remember? Do you remember? I'm always using this, do you remember? And so they always want to answer me, we remember Yakdushi. I just want to make sure I have it right. Would it be like ʼaduwóosʼ?
Yeah, so if you said like ʻaduwóosʼ, that's like I never. So there's two ways to say it. So you could say aka dak chat sahlaha. So this is but this is a conscious act of remembering. Aka dak chat sahlaha. I remembered it. Oh wait, is that right? No. Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah, and so this is a conscious act of remembering. I gotta check something real quick. And if you say ʼaduwóosʼ, what you're saying is like I never forgot it. So there are two different ways to say that, right? So if we go to remember we look in the verb dictionary. So we've got, let me get these highlights off of here. So one is, you'd say aka da chat se waha. So that would be I remembered it, right? And then you could say akat chat sayati. I keep it in mind all the time. ʼaduwóosʼ. It's inside of me. It's something that I'll never forget. And then you can have this one, the L classifier is to remind someone. So that's where I was getting mixed up.
So is that close to like ʼaduwóosʼ?
Yes, it's the same thing.
Oh, goodness, geez.
Yeah, so you could say ʼaduwóosʼ or ʼaduwóosʼ. It's fine either way. The ka, you could say kach or ka. You could say tu or tu. They're interchangeable.
Goodness, geez.
Ah. Okay. Yeah, remembering and reminding, those are pretty fun ones. Because then there's different, like, one would be like I had to think about it and then I remembered it. That's why I think a ka da khatse waha would be like, oh, I remembered it. And then would be a khatse wach is I forgot it. And would be I should know it, but I can't remember. Like, you know, someone's name or something happens all the time.
Alzheimer's.
Okay. Oh, Nora called that ʼaduwóosʼ. I just walk around without my mind. Okay. Yak Johan, Gnichish, Konachi, Jene, Yewishkachtustin, Kaikegi. We'll listen to your sentences. We'll do Kachwan Ish. Be good stuff. Get to the 2-minute mark on that Kachwan Ish.
Goodness, geez.
Goodness, geez.
Ah.